Then, please start moving the stuff out. Hold on a second. What do you mean? This is my house. It's only natural to come back here after finishing the last job site, right? I'll have your stuff moved to the storage unit nearby. I've paid for 3 months' rent, so once you find a place to move, you can move it out yourselves. As for you, I need you to leave the house now. You can go to a nearby hotel or back to your folks' place. There's no need to rush things like this. I want to take care of my new family. Pack up your things and get out fast. The husband had returned from his job transfer alone. But he didn't come back alone. He brought along his 23-year-old lover and their 5-year-old illegitimate child. He said that from now on, he would live with his new family, and that my daughter and I should leave immediately. As the movers mixed in, my daughter came out of the house and pulled at the hem of my shirt. Mom. Let's get out of here fast. It seems she didn't want to be near her father for even a second. Since the movers would take care of our belongings, I grabbed my purse in one hand and my daughter's hand in the other and left the house. Take care. Dad, this is the end of your life. What? The kid is acting tough. Thinking my daughter shouldn't say more, I quickly tugged her hand and signaled her to say no more. Until the very end, my ex-husband taunted me. Unable to bear his attitude, my daughter turned around and quietly taunted back. Angered by her words, my husband straightforwardly hurled abuse at her. There's no need to say such things to a 10-year-old. However, watching my husband abuse my daughter, it seemed her words didn't bother him. Turning my back on my ex-husband, I sighed with relief. What my daughter said was not just bravado. Perhaps my husband really is nearing the end of his life. He'll soon realize what preparations I've made for this moment. My name is Mary. I'm 38 years old and work part-time. My daughter, Anna, is 10 years old, and now it's just the two of us living together. Since my husband isn't often home, people sometimes mistake me for a single mom, but that's not the case. And it's not like we're having a rough patch and living separately. My husband, Ryan, works as a supervisor for a large construction company. He works at one site for several months to years, and once a job finishes, he moves on to the next. Because his job changes locations so often, we've had to move several times, even 3 times while our daughter was just in preschool. Each move seemed to make my daughter sad, and I felt like I had nails in my heart. This was just too sad for our daughter to keep up. It seems my husband thought so too, because he made a suggestion. Should we just buy a house? Huh? A house? From now on, I'll be the only one moving for jobs. You and Anna can settle down in one place. That way, Anna won't have to look so sad every time we move. You've had to quit jobs too because of all the moving, but if I'm the one relocating for work, you could go back to work, right? Well, that's true, but in that case, isn't it all right to just stay in our current rental apartment? Even if we buy a house, there's not zero chance that you won't end up having to take Anna and me with you, right? If we keep thinking that way, we'll never buy a house. But your concern is valid. Maybe we should go for a cheaper, used property. We'll put down a larger down payment and keep the mortgage short. Why's that? Well, if we ever have to move out of the house, we might need to sell it, right? If there's still a mortgage, we couldn't sell it. That makes sense. You really know your stuff from working in construction. I'm not a realtor, just have some knowledge on the side. While he verbally denied it, my husband seemed rather proud of himself. I agreed to his proposal, and we decided to buy a house. This will be our new home. Another move? Yes, but this will be the last one. You won't have to say goodbye to friends anymore. In elementary school, you can make as many friends as you want without feeling sad. Really? When we visited the house we bought before moving in, my daughter looked unsure. But once she knew there would be no more moving, she smiled and started running around the empty house. Just seeing her smile made me feel good about deciding to buy the house. It needs some repairs here and there, but it looks like something I can handle with a bit of DIY. I'll chip away at it when I have time. You really know your stuff from working in construction. I can rely on you. I'm not capable of everything, just DIY level, so don't expect professional craftsmanship. My husband began wandering around the house, checking where repairs were needed. He said not to expect professional level, but he looked somewhat proud of himself. We bought a used property for $300,000. It's not too spacious, but it's enough for the three of us, and since my husband will often be away on business, it's practically perfect. We paid a down payment of $100,000 and took out a short mortgage for 5 years. Having paid the down payment, our savings, which we had been slowly accumulating for over 10 years, have significantly decreased. Holding the passbook, it should weigh the same, yet it somehow feels lighter. Also, by shortening the mortgage, the monthly payment has become a bit hefty at $3,000 per month. Now that moving is off the table, I'm considering going back to a full-time job, just as my husband suggested. Once my daughter is in elementary school, going back to work wouldn't be impossible. However, with my husband away often, she will mostly have only me to rely on. So, I decided to return to work once my daughter is a bit older and will continue with my part-time job for now. It looks like my passbook will stay light for a while. Clean up well before Dad gets home tomorrow. I get to see Dad. Soon after we moved into the new house, my husband had to leave again for a solo assignment. It felt sad since we had just bought the house, but it seems this assignment was planned long ago. Now that we have a home and a family, he'll supposedly get some consideration in his assignments. While on assignment, my husband comes home about once or twice a month. My daughter looks forward to his returns and obediently cleans the house when he's coming. Perhaps because she only sees him about once a month, she doesn't have the dad dislike that many fathers of daughters her age worry about. Thus, even though my husband is often not at home, we've managed well in the 5 years since buying our house. I thought so, but it seems I just wasn't seeing the problems. My husband comes home once or twice a month. Sometimes, I go to him instead. During those times, my daughter stays with her grandparents. I visit my husband to check if he's eating balanced meals, keeping the house tidy, and staying healthy, among other things. Initially, checking for signs of infidelity was also on the list, but I haven't been doing that anymore. For the first year or two, I checked, but there were never any traces of infidelity in his room. Even if he were to cheat, I don't live with him, so he'd have plenty of time to erase any traces. Once, I tried some surprise visits to his room. Huh? Mary? You should have called me if you were coming. Well, I thought I'd surprise you, but I guess that backfired. Since I hadn't informed him beforehand, my husband was out dining with coworkers, and I ended up waiting until late at night. I couldn't just tell him it was a surprise inspection, so I just gave a wry smile to cover it up. It was entirely my fault for waiting in vain. Yet, when he came back, he apologized for not being home sooner. Suddenly, I felt the meaninglessness and emptiness of what I was doing. Since then, I always call him the night before when I'm planning to visit. I'll be coming over tomorrow morning. I always send a message to my husband before going to bed. The next day, as I arrived at my husband's house and was about to ring the doorbell, I heard his voice inside. He seemed to be talking to someone, but I couldn't make out the other person's voice. Maybe a coworker is visiting? But I did inform him last night that I'd be coming. I pulled back my finger from the doorbell and checked my phone. Next to the message I thought I had sent last night, there was a mark, unsent, indicating a sending error. After hesitating for a bit, I reached for the doorbell again. If the person inside was a coworker, I'd greet them. If a friend, I'd wait outside for a bit. I was taking it lightly, but it seems my husband was in quite a predicament. As I was about to ring, a sudden burst of noise came from the intercom. Following the noise, loud sounds came from inside, as if enough to complain from the floor below. He must have seen me on the monitor. This is definitely suspicious.
Hey, are you there? Can you open up quickly?
I couldn't wait any longer and knocked on the door. Mary? Sorry, I was in the bathroom and didn't notice. Just a sec. I just came out and need to wash my hands. There was still a lot of banging around inside. What's there to thrash about when using the bathroom? And it's been about 3 minutes since he said to wait. Did his hands get that dirty just from going to the bathroom? Impatient again, I knocked on the door. Hey! How long does it take to wash your hands? My bad, my bad. I'm coming to open it now. Finally, with some clattering, he opened the front door. What's the rush? Don't you usually call before coming? I realized there was a sending error with the message right in front of your house. I pushed past my husband and marched into the house. Looking at his face, he clearly couldn't hide his panic. We're on the 3rd floor of the apartment, so there's no escaping through the windows. I narrowed it down to the balcony or the closet. Oh no! The closet was the right guess. The other person averted their eyes, not wanting to meet mine. They looked quite young, almost like a college student. And, upon closer inspection, their clothes seemed hastily put on, slightly disheveled. No explanation needed. As I glared at my husband, understanding the situation, he let out a resigned sigh. I had both of them sit on the living room floor, and decided to hear the full story first. Clearly, this was my moment to confront them. Yet, the situation was about to take an unexpected turn. You are having an affair, right? No, Miranda is just a friend. It's not like that. Then why was she hiding in the closet? She acted this way because she was afraid of being misunderstood like this. It's not like you caught us in the act, right? Without any proof, accusing us of an affair is pretty insulting to Miranda. Indeed, my husband was right, I had no concrete proof of an affair. It was just that there was a woman in his room. He seemed to think he could get away with it, a slight ease appearing on his face. As I began to regret my impulsive actions, the other woman poked my husband in the side and started saying something unsettling. Isn't it about time? Yeah. I hope to avoid paying any settlement for an affair, but that seems impossible now. Timing? Settlement? The keywords I caught from their whispers gave me a bad feeling. Hey, let's get divorced. My fears were confirmed. It seemed my husband had beaten me to the punch. He appeared to have resigned himself to the situation. People who have nothing to lose are frightening. I was supposed to have the upper hand by accusing him of infidelity, yet somehow, the tables were turning. We've been together for 5 years. Not right after we bought the house. Yeah, bad timing. To meet the real love of your life right after buying a house. The real love of your life? What does that mean? Just what it sounds like. Unlike you, Miranda would move with me when I relocate for work. But we bought the house so you wouldn't have to move, and we have Anna, too. I guess when we bought the house, I wished you had said you'd move with me. And Miranda has a child, too. Born 5 years ago. 5 years ago? That's when you and Miranda started your relationship, right? Don't tell me Miranda was married? No. The child is mine and Miranda's. We had a child soon after we met. The name's Andy. Yeah, when Miranda got pregnant at 18, I was worried. But having a child made me commit. Huh? A child between you two? Yes. Huh? A child between you two? So, I said yes. I thought I misheard, so I ended up asking the same question twice. It seems it was not a misunderstanding. My husband has been having an affair for the past 5 years, and his mistress gave birth to his child 5 years ago. It turns out I have a 5-year-old child. What's more, their names are Anna and Andy, just 1 letter apart. It's creepy to choose such similar names. It was a shocking fact, but my husband mentioned it so casually that it still doesn't feel real to me. However, I was still able to continue our conversation despite being shaken. If we divorce, I'll be taking alimony and child support from you. That's true. It's a shame, but it can't be helped. Instead of that, how about you give us the house? What? Property division, alimony, and child support are separate, right? What do you mean instead? That's not gonna fly. But we're gonna live as a couple from now on, and we might have more kids. But you're gonna be a single mom soon, right? You won't need a big house like that for just 2 people. So you're saying I can take Anna, right? Yeah. I don't dislike Anna, but Miranda might. So, I'll give her to you. As I talk to my husband, my body heats up more and more. At this rate, I feel like I might lash out at him. But doing that could put me at a disadvantage in the upcoming divorce. I clench my back teeth and tense all my muscles to keep myself from moving. Hey, say something. I'm taking the house, okay? The house is in my name, and I paid for all of it. Unable to speak, I just shook my head slightly from side to side. Huh? Why not? You want the house too? That's greedy. Okay, you can take more of our savings. That okay? I shook my head again. Don't be more demanding. Oh, are you dragging this out because you don't want to divorce me? It's useless, you know. I'm definitely getting a divorce. Andy will be starting elementary school in 6 months. I want to finish Miranda and Andy's move by then. And I want to prepare comfortably, so can you leave in about 3 months? As I shook my head again, my husband stood up, grabbed my arm, and forcefully pulled me to my feet. Stop acting like a child. The divorce is final. 3 months is enough time to move out. So, that's that. My husband dragged me to the entrance and threw me out of the house. The force of the throw was strong, and I lost my balance and fell on my butt. My husband looked down at me as I lay on the ground, smirking slowly as he closed the door. Despite his wrongdoing, why do I have to feel such a strong sense of defeat and misery? Wiping away my tears, I went back home. 2 weeks after experiencing the humiliating defeat from my husband. A divorce application with my husband's name already filled in was sent to our house. It seems he wants me to file it. Is this the divorce papers? That's great. Now you can separate from Dad. Anna, that's a big statement. Didn't you like your dad? Not anymore. Oh, Mom. The phone is ringing again. You're really busy, aren't you? That's true. Divorce sure takes a lot of effort. I didn't sugarcoat the reasons for our divorce too much when explaining it to my daughter, though I did soften the expression for a 5th grader. After some thought, I decided it was better for her to know exactly what her father did and judge him as wrong, since she can discern right from wrong at age 10. Knowing about her father's affair, my daughter seemed more angry than sad. I'm relieved that my daughter isn't too upset. 3 months later. I was busy looking for a job to support our life together and dealing with the divorce, so we hadn't moved out yet. As we hadn't left after 3 months, my ex-husband began calling frequently. When are you going to move out? I'm sorry. Things have been hectic, and the move keeps getting postponed. You're not planning to squat in the house, are you? I wouldn't do that. Then hurry up and move out. Startled by my ex-husband's loud voice, I instinctively pulled the smartphone away from my ear. Though it's bad that I haven't moved out yet, I wish he would remember why we are getting divorced in the first place. If he did, he wouldn't be able to yell at me like this. 3 days after the call from my ex-husband, he lost his patience and resorted to drastic measures. One Sunday, my daughter and I were organizing our belongings at home. We hadn't found a new place yet, but since my ex-husband was being insistent, we were preparing so we could move out as soon as we found a new home. While we were busy packing for the move, the doorbell rang. Huh? What are you doing here? Since you've been squatting here forever, I had to make arrangements on my own. Anyway, open the door. Reluctantly, I headed to the front door. When I went outside, not only was my ex-husband there, but also his mistress and a little girl were standing in front of the house. There was also a large truck parked. Then, please start moving the stuff out. Wait a minute. What do you mean? This is my house. It's natural for me to return once my previous job is done, right? But you're still squatting here, so I arranged to have your stuff moved to a nearby storage unit. I've paid the rental for 3 months, so once you find a place, you can move your things yourself. You need to leave the house now. Go to a hotel or back to your parents' place. There's no need to rush things like this. I want to take care of my new family. Hurry up and pack your things and get out. From inside, movers began to carry out the boxes we had packed for moving. Look, you were already preparing to move. Among the movers, my daughter came out of the house. Mom. What's this? My daughter looked at my ex-husband with disdain, as if she was looking at an insect. Kids these days seem much more mature than when we were children. She seemed to grasp the current situation by the moving boxes and the fact that my ex-husband was back. Mom. Let's just get out of here. My daughter tugged at the hem of my shirt. She didn't want to be near her father for even a second. Since our stuff was being moved, I grabbed my wallet in one hand and my daughter's hand in the other, and we left the house. Take care now. Dad, this is the end of your life. Huh? The kid's getting cheeky. Thinking my daughter shouldn't say anything more, I quickly pulled her hand and signaled her to be quiet. Right up until the end, my ex-husband kept provoking me. Perhaps unable to tolerate his attitude, my daughter turned around and muttered a retort. Annoyed by her words, my ex-husband hurled insults directly at her. There was really no need to say such things to a 10-year-old child. However, seeing my ex-husband lash out, it seemed my daughter wasn't fazed by his words. I turned my back on my ex-husband and breathed a sigh of relief. My daughter's retort wasn't just bravado. Perhaps my ex-husband really is nearing the end of his rope. He'll soon realize why I've been so busy these past 3 months, putting off the move. After leaving the house, my daughter and I started living in an apartment near my ex-husband's house. I promised my daughter she wouldn't have to say goodbye to her school friends, and I have to keep that promise. I would have liked to move farther away from my ex-husband, but the move was within a range that didn't require her to change schools. The lack of suitable houses nearby was one reason the move was delayed. Moving was distressing in various ways, but now, my daughter and I are living a peaceful life. Yet, as if to disrupt this peace, my ex-husband called. Hey. What's this about? I got a call from the lawyer. We're divorced, and the reason was your affair and the child, so it's not surprising to get a call from a lawyer, right? It's about the content of the call. I get the alimony of $60,000 for the affair. But what's this compensation fee? They're saying I owe an additional $100,000? And? There's nothing strange about that. Just pay what you owe. You took the house when we divorced. Whether you paid the full purchase cost or not, it was marital property. So as part of the property division, I'm entitled to half of that house, right? The current value of the house is about $200,000. So, I have the right to get $100,000 from you. It seems my efforts are finally paying off. My lawyer has coached me on what to say if my ex-husband argues. I'm fully prepared now and I can surely respond to whatever my ex-husband says. It's been my turn for a while now. My daughter heard me talking on the phone with the lawyer and told me, this is preparation to discipline Dad. That's why, when we were leaving the house, she said to my ex-husband, Dad, this is the end of your life. At that time, I was nervous that my ex-husband would suspect I was up to something. So, it's been 3 months since we divorced. Are you bringing up the house issue now? You agreed that I could have the house. The right to demand property division doesn't disappear for 2 years after a divorce, so 3 months is no issue. Besides, I never agreed to give you the house. That can't be true. I clearly told you. In exchange for the house, I was gonna give you more of our savings. You said that, but did I respond? Did I nod? I shook my head, and you just went ahead with your plans and kicked me out of the house, right? So, the negotiation isn't over. It seems like you ended it on your own. That's why I had the lawyer handle the compensation claim. So, I have to pay you $160,000 for the affair and this compensation? Don't forget about Anna's child support. I got almost all of our savings, so this payment is gonna be tough for you. But here's some good news. The lawyer must have explained, the compensation is $100,000, but you only have to pay an additional $70,000. That's right, he did say something like that. I gave you most of our savings, about $60,000. Yes. We paid a larger down payment on the house and set up a shorter mortgage term, so we hardly saved any money. Remember, you said it's not a big amount, so just take it all, but the original money I should have received from the property division was $30,000, so the extra $30,000 I got counts towards the compensation. Still, you thought you could manage because you had a house and a job, and now you've almost nothing left. Can you really come up with $130,000 right now? I know very well that my ex-husband, who's practically broke, can't come up with $130,000 immediately. Since he couldn't see my face over the phone, I couldn't stop smirking. It's impossible right now. I'd like to pay in installments. That's a no-go. Alimony and property division are usually paid in full. If you want to pay in installments, I'd have to agree, but I absolutely will not. But if I don't have it, I can't pay. Then we'll just move to the next step. We'll proceed with the necessary actions and eventually, it will come to forced execution. Forced execution? Like seizing property? That's what it means. We could seize the house, but there's also a way to garnish your wages. Garnish my wages? If that happens, it really is the end of my life. Not all of your salary will be taken, so don't worry. But it will get around at work. It'll surely make things awkward for you. In the end, I won't be able to work. What am I supposed to do? My ex-husband seemed to realize he was in a no-win situation, as his voice grew fainter and fainter. Since it seemed I might soon not be able to hear him at all, I turned up the volume on my smartphone. There is one way to avoid forced execution. What should I do? Sell the house. If you sell the house, you'll get $200,000, so you could pay the $130,000 with that? I won't agree to installments, but I can wait for the payment if you sell the house. I see. If I pay the $130,000, I'll still have $70,000 left. My ex-husband seemed frustrated that selling the house was his only option. Yet, knowing he'd still have $70,000 left seemed to make him a bit more optimistic. He's probably imagining a bright future, working together with his new wife. However, I don't think that future will ever come. Speaking of which, you're on a business trip alone again, aren't you? Yeah, I'm not at that house right now. I'll sell the house, but it might take some time, so can you wait for the payment? That's fine, but do you know what Miranda is up to while you're away from home? What? Are you saying Miranda is having an affair? Well, you could say I'm half right. I live near that house, right? So, I occasionally see her at the local supermarket. She's walking with a young man. Just an acquaintance, right? But, I sneaked closer and listened to their conversation. I heard things like Andy doesn't know yet and just hang on a little longer, I'm getting things ready. Hey, is Andy really your child? She's my child for sure. You're just trying to corner me and enjoy my reaction. What a nasty woman. The volume on my smartphone was up, so when he suddenly yelled, I thought my eardrum would burst. I pulled the phone away from my ear and looked at the screen. The call time had stopped. It seems he hung up the phone as he was yelling. Having been married to him, I understand. He was clearly shaken. He must have some suspicions. Imagining the frantic expression on my ex-husband's face on the other side of the phone, I couldn't help but smirk again. Later, He sold the house and paid me $130,000. He was left with $70,000. $70,000 is a decent amount of money, but considering it came from selling the house, it feels small. And that money will likely be consumed by child support payments for my daughter. I think he must feel quite empty. After losing the house, Miranda started attacking him over discrepancies with what she had heard, and the two began to fight frequently. It seems that their arguments, filled with yelling and shouting, echoed around the neighborhood at night. In the flow of these fights, my ex-husband finally asked Miranda, "Is Andy really my child?" and plunged into a real mess. After a huge row about whether or not to do a DNA test for Andy, Miranda admitted to cuckolding. She was 18 when she got pregnant, and as neither of them were financially stable to raise a child, she approached my ex-husband for his money and house, seeing that he liked her. Once he learned the truth, my ex-husband divorced her. Their marriage ended after just 3 months. Now, involving the real father of the child, there's a messy battle ongoing. They argue about return the child support he has been paying for 5 years, thinking she was his child and the money she received was during their relationship, so she won't return it, with everyone emotionally drained and in turmoil. The only silver lining is that the child has returned to her real parents. The real father of the child has apparently become financially stable enough to support a child over the past 5 years. I'm glad, because I didn't want the innocent child caught in the middle to suffer. Having lost his home, family, and money, and with his mind shattered by the cuckolding incident, my ex-husband's downfall continues. He had been bragging at work about remarrying a 23-year-old woman. Yet, he was discarded by both me and his affair partner, and is now mired in a messy battle over the cuckolding. Such stories inevitably spread at work, and while he received some sympathetic words, he was mostly snickered at behind his back. Unable to cope with the situation, mentally shattered, he sold the house and then vanished. Since he lost his job too, he truly lost everything. The child support is being paid regularly, so he must be working somewhere. As long as I receive the child support, I have no interest in what he does or where he is. I continue to live just with my daughter. She seems unaffected by the affair or the divorce, and is happy every day. I have left my part-time job and found full-time employment. I plan to work hard for my daughter's sake from now on.